CTV News.
Good evening, I'm Sanjay. Maru, thanks for joining us. We are coming on the air tonight with breaking news. An officer-involved shooting in downtown Windsor requiring Ontario's Special Investigations Unit to fulfill its mandate.
Lots of police out firing.
Get on the ground right now!
This video of the shooting was provided to CTV News. We're not going to show the rest of it due to the graphic nature of it. It was around 6:20 p.m. when the suspect, shown in the red jacket, was shot by police. Shortly beforehand, officers had responded to reports of a robbery nearby. The suspect was soon tracked to the area of Rankin Avenue and Wyandotte Street West, where officers located a man who was armed with a knife. In the video, officers followed the suspect up Rankin Avenue, where he was shot. The suspect was sent to hospital with life-threatening injuries.
I just come out for a cigarette off my front porch, going to get some cash out of the ATM, and then I heard a pop. And I know from living in America, you know, gunshots, so I sprawled out right to the grass, just went like this. And then I realized a stray bullet might hit me, so I ran for cover behind a brick wall. And then 2 seconds later, I just decided to open up my camera, videotape, and another shot goes off, and I realized the police are there.
When I walked out of the door at work here, he was standing in front of the ATM with literally a 12-inch knife, so it was right here. Like the police did an amazing job.
Meanwhile, police are investigating after shots were fired yesterday afternoon at an officer executing an arrest warrant. Police say officers were preparing to leave when multiple shots were fired near the east parking lot at 333 Glengarry Avenue. The initial shots appeared to be directed at a uniformed officer, but additional rounds struck a police vehicle, leaving visible holes in the vehicle. No physical injuries were reported. Investigators have not determined if the shots were fired from a firearm or a pellet or BB gun. Police are looking for dash cam or surveillance footage from the area between 1 and 3 p.m. on Tuesday. Turning now to an unusual start to a Windsor murder trial today, with both the Crown and defense delivering opening statements back to back. And in a rare move, both sides agree the accused is responsible for the death of the victim. Now the jury will have to decide between two possibilities: second-degree murder or manslaughter. CTV's Michelle Molesky has more.
24-year-old Daniel Squalls was shot to death on November 28, 2022. It happened out front of his home on Hannah Street near Parent Avenue. 30-year-old Malik Kalu has pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder. Daniel Squalls and Malik Kalu did not like each other, the Crown said. There was animosity between them. The jury has learned Squalls and Kalu both have children with the same woman. In the days leading up to the murder, Kalu learned Squalls and the woman were in the middle of moving with both of the children to the U.S. He would never see the child again, the defense explained to the jury. Malik emptied his gun, shooting Daniel Squalls. The defense says Kalu believed Squalls was armed. In our law, there's a partial defense that is called provocation, the defense told the jury. Self-defense is also a live issue. The shooting itself wasn't caught on camera, but the Crown says they will show the jury video of the moments before and after the shooting. You will hear 15 gunshots, the prosecution said. The Crown says no gun was found at the scene, on Squall's body or in his car, parked on the street. Michelle Molesky, CTV News.
Windsor police are hoping to identify 3 suspects in a home invasion in the city's West End on March 15th. Police say shortly after 4 a.m., 3 people forced their way into a home in the 3200 block of Linwood Place. Once inside, they allegedly threatened a woman, pointing a firearm at her. Police say the suspects also stole personal items and cash before fleeing in a vehicle. No physical injuries were reported here. All 3 suspects were wearing face coverings but are described as black men between 18 and 25 years old. You can find further suspect descriptions on our website, ctvnewswindsor.ca. Provincial police say a suspect from Essex County is in custody after a carjacking and a lengthy police chase across Midwestern Ontario.
It looks like the 2 vehicles made contact at some point. Thankfully, our officer's not injured, and I understand that the individual that was driving, the suspect, is being checked out at the local hospital as well, and we're waiting to hear what the result was for there.
Police say the incident began in Lambton County, where the suspect is accused of making threats before allegedly entering a home near Bayfield and demanding car keys. Officers tracked the vehicle through multiple communities with help from the OPP helicopter before stopping it in Huron County. Police say a cruiser and the suspect vehicle made contact, but no officers were injured. The suspect was taken to hospital as a precaution and is now facing a number of charges across several jurisdictions.
I understand that Sarnia Police Service is involved, as well as Chatham-Kent Police Service, and now Huron County will have a long list of charges that will be laid against this individual.
The downtown Windsor Farmers Market is set to return later this month, bigger than ever. But this year, there's a new twist. A recent provincial move could allow people to bring their own alcohol to outdoor events like the Windsor Farmers Market. As CTV's Chris Campbell explains, as the market continues to grow, so does the conversation around what visitors could soon be allowed to bring.
The market returns March 28th, running every Saturday through the end of October. This 17th year brings a major expansion to the Polisher Street location, with 25% more vendors, a larger food footprint extending into the Polisher Street parking garage, and new features like shaded seating, games, and live entertainment.
At some points, we have 75 vendors that were waiting for spots in the market.
Organizers say the market will offer more than 3,000 vendor spaces over its 32-week run.
We have a whole lot of established vendors who've been full-time vendors with us for years on end. The community knows them, community loves them, but we also have a lot of new vendors who are coming in and just getting the taste of the market scene.
But this year's market could look a little different following an announcement from Premier Doug Ford allowing bring your own alcohol at certain outdoor events.
If someone wants to have a beer or a glass of wine, they should be able to.
The change still requires municipal approval and event permits, but it's already sparking conversation locally.
I think so, because that would make it more of an event that you could do as a couple.
I think that would be awesome. I think that this should have been done a long time ago. It's great for vendors, it's great for patrons, it's fabulous.
There's safety concerns that come down to it too, right? Even though there'll be authorities on spot to monitor people's consumption and check things out, it doesn't really give any accountability or safety to the people around that bring their kids and whatnot.
City officials say it's something Windsor will need to review before deciding whether to allow it at events like the downtown market.
In some ways, this makes things easier when it comes to security and policing, because if you're leaving your home with a bottle of wine or a six-pack of beer, or you intend on starting the night knowing that you're going to be consuming, you're probably not going to drive.
I think it can create some opportunity, whereas right now, you're limited to buying it and taking it home with you. So if there was, more consumption allowed, then I think it has great potential for additional vendors.
Chris Campbell, CTV News.
Canadians are cashing in on accountability. Zekelman Industries' Buy Canadian initiative so far has awarded $30,000 to people who spotted imported steel being used in publicly funded projects across the country. Launched last November, the program rewarded $1,000 for each verified submission where imported materials were being used to construct bridges, schools, hospitals, and transit centers from British Columbia to Quebec. Zekelman Industries says the campaign shines a light on the importance of keeping taxpayer dollars supporting Canadian workers. The program wraps up at the end of March, but organizers hope the message will resonate long after. Well, if you're planning a flight, you have to be extremely careful that information is entered correctly, or it can lead to problems at the airport. A passenger noticed a minor mistake on his plane ticket and was told by the airline it shouldn't be a problem. But as CTV's Pat Foran tells us, that was far from the case.
Brandon Bowman of Milton traveled to Thailand in January for almost 3 weeks and says the vacation was one of the best adventures of his life. But it came with some stress. In November, when he booked his tickets with Air Canada, he noticed there was a space missing between his last name, Bowman, and his middle name, Rodriguez.
My last name and my middle name were joined. I called them. Their employee said it should be fine.
The return ticket to Thailand cost him almost $5,000. 2 days before his flight, he thought he should check in to make sure everything was okay. That's when he got a different answer from a different person.
The next employee I got, the lady said that it's not fine. We have to cancel everything. and it jumped about $6,000 in price extra.
His name was corrected on the new ticket. He was flying business class, and on short notice, the new price required to board was now over $11,000. He felt he had to go through with the trip as he had planned it for months and prepaid for many tours and outings.
Because I couldn't cancel the flight, I booked the time off from work. I did flights within the country I was going to and excursions and hotels.
Bowman enjoyed his vacation, but when he got home, he felt he should be compensated since he did check with Air Canada if his ticket would be valid with the missing space. When CTV News reached out to the airline, it said passengers should always check the booking confirmation immediately after they purchase a ticket to be sure all information is correct, including the itinerary, travel dates, and name spellings. But Air Canada added, the customer should have been advised more clearly about his options during the initial call, which would have remedied this situation. So we have refunded the difference. Air Canada just returned over $6,000 to Bowman, which was great news for him. Pat Foran, CTV News.
After the break, a new poll shows most Canadians still see home ownership as a major life goal, even as many say they need side hustles and still don't know what they can afford. CTV meteorologist Gary Archibald joining me now for a look at the forecast. Gary, we are on the final countdown of winter. So what can we expect as we look ahead to spring right around the corner?
Right around the corner for Friday, in fact. First full day is Friday, according to the calendar, of course, and tomorrow's the last full day of winter. Good riddance, I'm sure many are saying to themselves. Today was cold, especially in the morning, windy as well. Reached a high close to about 0 degrees, between 0 and +1 between Windsor, Essex, Chatham, Kent. I think there's a good chance we'll still see maybe some light flurry activity and a risk of some freezing drizzle through the overnight. Westerlies and northwesterlies fetching across the Great Lakes, in particular Lake Huron, usually is the focal point for a lot of snow and lake-enhanced snow. And we're seeing that to the north and east of us. But a few pulses over Pelee Island and of course, Point Pelee, the last 24 to 48 hours, and more of the same tonight into tomorrow morning. Then we'll get a good frontal boundary pushing through. Unfortunately, there's still a windiness associated with this next boundary, that front pushing through. So it's going to be blustery and cold in the mornings, but we will warm up Thursday afternoon, and Friday, Saturday could really impress you if you like certainly warm spring time seasonal activities. You could be outside this weekend riding your bike in mid-teens. Imagine that. But the overnight temperatures remain cold, 0 degrees. That would still be above seasonal for this time of the year, but it's breezy and there's a chance of freezing drizzle. It will feel closer to about -8. Take a look at the breakdown for your Thursday. Again, the last full day of winter. We're looking at a cloudy day through the morning, midday, afternoon, and evening, reaching a high of 9 degrees Celsius. Our average high for this time of the year is 6.9 degrees Celsius. You get the idea. Temperatures are on the way up and above average. And the 7-day forecast, at least for Friday and Saturday, somewhat impressive. Temperatures well above seasonal. Not record-setting, but, wow, could see 18, maybe even 19 degrees on Saturday. So a cold start, showery, that mix to contend with Thursday, warming up Friday and Saturday. Saturday looks great to be outdoors. Sunday, cooling off, showers, cloudy, and then sunny and fair and warming up again. Next week, Monday, Tuesday, into Wednesday. Let's look at your 7-day forecast. Sanjay?
Donald Trump's top intelligence officials testified publicly today for the first time since launching their onslaught. They were asked pointed questions about the president's claims and his reasoning for the war in Iran. Here's CTV's Joy Malbin.
Arriving in Dover for a dignified transfer, President Donald Trump honoring 6 service members killed in a refueling air crash, as the U.S. military took new action in Iran, dropping multiple 5,000-pound bunker buster bombs targeting Iranian ammunition storage sites. As global oil prices skyrocket, Trump is determined to get the oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz, with or without support from U.S. allies.
We don't need too much help, and we don't need any help, actually.
The president's top intelligence officials grilled on Capitol Hill over what evidence justified attacking Iran now.
Did you brief the president if he starts a war of choice, that the likely result would be that Iran would strike adjacent Gulf nations and close the Strait of Hormuz?
I have not and won't divulge internal conversations.
Democrats are clearly frustrated. Asked if the president's strikes on Iran's nuclear sites in June obliterated the nuclear program, why go to war now?
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
False. This is the worldwide. This is
Trump's intelligence director says it's not her job to determine what is an imminent threat to the homeland, as her chief of staff, Joe Kent, just resigned in protest, suggesting President Trump was duped into war, blaming Israel. And with Marines on the way to the Middle East, President Trump has yet to make a decision on sending U.S. forces into Iran to seize the country's remaining nuclear material. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
A new poll finds that despite an uncertain housing market, a majority of Canadians want to own their own homes. The RBC survey found 80% of respondents consider buying a home one of life's biggest financial milestones. 32% expect to buy a house or condo within the next 2 years. Meanwhile, nearly 75% of people think owning a home is a sign of financial independence. The poll found more than 60% of people say they need a second job or a side hustle to be able to afford a home. Understanding mortgages also remains a barrier, as 64% of people say they're unsure how much they can afford. Applications for a new first-time homebuyers program are now open. Purchasers can apply for financial relief on newly built homes in a move aimed at making housing more affordable and boosting construction. But as CTV's Robert Lothian explains, some in Windsor-Essex are questioning whether it will all make a real difference.
A new tool aimed at helping first-time home buyers break into the market is now available. Purchasers can apply for a rebate on GST and the federal portion of HST when buying a newly constructed home.
There's no doubt that it will make a difference. AREA and as a part of WeCar, we've been lobbying for this for years.
Eligible buyers can slash up to $50,000 off of new homes with a price tag up to $1 million. Windsor-Essex County Association of Realtors President Juliana Biondo wants to see Ottawa expand the rebate beyond just first-time buyers.
You really want to stimulate that sector, which is suffering at this time. That is a surefire way to drum up some activity.
For most in Windsor-Essex, Biondo says the budget for a starter home tops out at about $500,000.
I don't know of any new construction that's happening in that price point that would be attractive for a first-time buyer.
The new rebate intends to create more affordability and spur new housing construction. In 2025, Windsor posted 1,262 housing starts, according to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. That was down from the 2,157 starts back in 2024.
Nobody's building. It is really, really dead.
Homebuilder Norbert Bolger says some buyers have been waiting on the rebate to close on their home. Concerns over the impacts of U.S. tariffs and trade have been a driver in stalling new builds. The CMHC is forecasting Windsor housing starts will decline in 2026, citing high economic uncertainty. The Crown Corporation expects a gradual recovery later on the forecast horizon, particularly for ground-oriented homes, such as single-family homes, duplexes, row houses, and townhouses.
I think with this announcement, they should increase. They definitely should increase.
Ontario's Home Builders Association says the federal rebate only applies to about 5% of provincial sales, but Bolger says expanding access will only create more growth.
It's a huge step to start reducing the cost. And as you know, no matter what you sell, if you can sell it for less, you're going to sell more.
Robert Lothian, CTV News.
Markets were down as the Iran war continues and crude oil prices move up. In Toronto, the TSX dropping 616 points. In New York, the Dow falling 768, the Nasdaq losing 327. The Canadian dollar fell but lost just 0.04 of a cent. Gold is down $112 an ounce. Oil slips 7 cents a barrel. An exclusive W5 investigation has uncovered an international crime syndicate luring Canadians, some of them teenagers, into becoming drug traffickers. 4 have been arrested in Hong Kong in just 4 months. CTV's Avery Haynes exposes the network behind the cocaine-filled suitcases.
19-year-old Jade from Cambridge, Ontario, faces life in a Hong Kong prison after customs agents found this inside her suitcase, 25 kilos of cocaine.
It knocks the breath out of you because this is your child.
Jade's mom, Nadiria, and dad, Gary, say their daughter was duped after answering a job posting for an international courier on Instagram.
She was excited, and I dealt with this guilt as a dad, why I didn't probe, why I didn't ask.
Our investigation reveals that Jade is one of 4 Canadians recently caught in Hong Kong with cocaine suitcases, a total of 100 kilos between them.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Prison chaplain Father John Wotherspoon is an internationally renowned advocate for drug mules in Hong Kong.
If we know of 4, there's probably maybe another dozen or so that we don't know about.
I traveled to Hong Kong with Jade's mother and visited each of the Canadians behind bars. I'm allowed just 15 minutes and can only take in scraps of paper and a pen.
And there are some striking similarities in their stories, including the fact that they all gave the same name for the person who's working above their Canadian recruiter. Well, it's not really a name, it's punctuation, a period. He goes by Dot.
The DOT network is specifically targeting young people in the Kitchener and Waterloo area, where both 19-year-old Jade and another imprisoned Canadian, 20-year-old Omar, live.
I've heard stories and seen photos of people that said they have done it.
We're hiding their identity and calling them Lee, a person who claims to know dozens of young people who've made deliveries to Hong Kong.
So you believe that they're still sending people to Hong Kong?
I don't believe it, I know it.
Lee was about to make a delivery, but it fell apart, triggering a flurry of threatening, encrypted messages from Dot.
He's like, you, like, f***ing kid, f***ing my stuff. Dot was also threatening to kill me, threatening to shoot up my house.
We are aware of a trend of some people being recruited through social media to transport drugs to other countries.
Waterloo Regional Police Staff Sergeant Ian Young heads up the drug squad and hopes this message will stop another cocaine suitcase from taking flight.
An opportunity that may seem like a golden opportunity may not necessarily be that. They're preying on people's innocence and trust.
Police say their investigation is a high priority case and involves the RCMP and Canada Customs. Avery Haynes, CTV News.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
A woman featured in one of the most viral videos of 2025 is revealing her side of the story for the first time. She was spotted on camera embracing her then boss at a Coldplay concert, but she says there's a lot more to the story. NBC's Stephanie Gosk reports.
Oh, look at these two. All right.
A moment lasting less than 20 seconds.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very sharp.
The kiss cam embrace at a Coldplay concert last summer became an instant online sensation, watched by billions around the world. And Kristen Cabot's life would never be the same.
Well, there was paparazzi there for weeks. They wouldn't leave. I had people trespassing and looking in my windows. We had people doing drive-bys and yelling and honking. We had my phone.
With your children home.
Yes, with my children home.
Cabot speaking out for the first time on camera in an interview with Oprah.
It wasn't even calculated where we thought to ourselves, like, oh, no one's looking.
Cabot revealed her husband, who she had separated from, was at the concert too, and that CEO Andy Byron told her he was going through a divorce himself. But the former head of HR says the vitriol was largely reserved for her.
Andy Byron, your boss, were people coming up to him?
No, not at all.
And women, she says, were the cruelest.
How I looked, to how I was dressed, to how I behaved, to, you know, the sleeping my way to the top, to the gold digger, the husband stealer.
Both Byron and Cabot resigned from their jobs.
People were united in their judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad for us as human beings that that's what we did to you.
Thank you.
Cabot says she made a mistake that night, but did not deserve this. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News.
Gary is back with a final look at weather. Gary.
Sanjay, I'm calling for some showers tomorrow morning, maybe even some freezing drizzle. The probability of seeing it is relatively low, but I think that if we do see it, it will be before dawn tomorrow morning. We'll see a high of 9 degrees. That's about 2 degrees above seasonal for tomorrow afternoon. Keep the umbrella nearby. Friday's wet, but definitely warm and warmer than average. And it just gets warmer from there. Beautiful Saturday setting up. Mixture of sun and cloud. Got the mountain bike all geared up and refreshed. A little tune-up job this week. Perfect for Saturday. Sunday cools off, cloudy and a chance of some showers. Monday's clear but cool and below seasonal. Then things are above seasonal. Fair, mixture of sun and cloud Tuesday up to 9, 11 degrees Wednesday. There, I said it. The next 7 days, and it takes us into the next season. Wow, quarter of the year already over. Seasonally speaking. Have yourselves a good night.
Well, if you've ever e-signed a document or used two-factor authorization, you have a Canadian to thank, and he's just been honored with the biggest prize in computing. Quantum pioneer and Canadian computer scientist Gilles Brassard, along with an American colleague, received the AM Turing Award, often referred to as the Nobel Prize of Computing, for their cryptography work that dates back to 1984 and formed the foundation of encryption technology used today. The pair also received a $1 million U.S. prize. Thank you for keeping us safe. That is your news for tonight. Thank you so much, as always, for watching this edition of Windsor's News Leader. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 6 and 11.